Hello and welcome everyone. This is our community conversation and we're so glad that you are joining us this week. This week we have a great panel and we're going to be talking about STEM and the Maryland STEM Fest. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my panel. First of all, I want to introduce myself, Rachel Zukowski, and I am the Program Services Manager at Prince George's County Memorial Library System. So let's go around our room and we'll start with Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil Rogovsky. I am the founder and executive director of the Maryland STEM Festival. We'll be celebrating our 6th year this year.
Thanks. Justin?
Sure, I'm Justin Park. I'm the president and co-founder of Intergalactic Education. We make STEM-based computer games that teach kids about algebra and astronomy. We've been around for about 4 years now, and this is our 3rd year participating in the Maryland STEM Festival.
Thanks. Tony?
Hi, my name is Tony Powell at a company called Philosophy. I'm the owner and developer of Philosophy. I make video games that range from exciting, fast-paced competitive games to also educational games with farming. I was hired by the Maryland STEM Festival late 2017 to build a video game called Agronomics that teaches kids how STEM plays a role in modern day agriculture. We've been traveling all up and down Maryland showcasing this game and having a great time. We just recently got a new build on the App Store and the Google Play Store. We're looking forward to getting it in kids' hands and see what they think.
Fantastic. Welcome and thank you for being on the panel today. So we hear this term STEM a lot. What does STEM actually mean? Some people just have not really encountered that term yet. So could you help us understand what STEM means?
Sure. STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. And the point of connecting these and to come up with the term STEM was to encourage students to think more about these different areas and to focus their career thoughts on entering these fields, because the economy in the world is becoming more and more STEM-based, and kids and students need more STEM skills and more STEM knowledges to perform in those fields, as well as just to interact with life in general.
Thanks. So I think I had heard at some point that STEM and this concept really came about because the US was falling behind comparatively to the STEM education in other countries. Is that part of this whole STEM concept?
Absolutely. While once we were the unquestionable leaders in STEM, we were the first country to put a man and the only country to put a person on the moon. Unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, we have lagged behind. Many other countries have seen the importance of STEM and have focused more of their attention on STEM than we have. And so we are trying with STEM to catch up in some respects and to improve our status in STEM and to make our students more STEM qualified and more STEM interested.
I think I heard somewhere as well that 60% of the future jobs do not currently exist. So I think part of that is also like developing those skill sets to be able to adapt to future economies as well.
Absolutely. Part of STEM is flexibility and adaptability and learning to deal with whatever comes your way. And there's some organizations, I believe Johns Hopkins actually has a team that does nothing but think about jobs that don't exist and jobs that will be coming around. So that is a very true statement, and it's one of the reasons that STEM is important.
So Justin and Tony, anything to add to that? I mean, your jobs, I'm thinking, 100 years ago, they didn't exist. Maybe even 50 years didn't really exist.
Yeah, absolutely. I think games have existed for a very long time, but in terms of the digital space, which uses the technology aspect of STEM, video games are very, very new. It's actually one of the fastest growing entertainment platforms out there, and probably will be for the longest time. For a while, it was movies, but once video games added in the interactivity aspect of storytelling, of experiencing like different activities and stuff digitally, I think that's what really separated the video games industry from all other forms of games or forms of entertainment and things like that. So I think games have been around for a long time, but video games is certainly very new.
But that brings up another point about STEM. STEM also has always been around. It's just, it is changing and evolving much more quickly than it has in the past, and is becoming much more dependent upon the the technology. But STEM has always been there. Farmers have always depended on the weather. Fishermen have always, needed to know about the animals and how to navigate the water. So STEM isn't really a new concept. It is just much more important, and again, advancing and evolving much more quickly.
Fantastic. Justin, anything to add about your industry and its connection to STEM?
Yeah, I would mirror what the others said about just the increased number of jobs that are going to be created that involve STEM. We do work in video games, which is a relatively new medium, but it's very forward thinking. We've been doing education, and we've been doing sharing of news, the same more or less for the last couple of 100 years. And now that we have an interactive, more engaging way of teaching and sharing ideas, I think, yeah, it's a really exciting time to be doing these types of things.
Oh, Justin, did you say earlier that you did software engineering as well? Are you building the tools that developers would use to make their games?
Yeah, we develop I call them middleware, or at least they called them middleware in the past, where you develop the tools to build the things. A lot of the most popular educational games out there, like Roblox and Minecraft, they've built an environment where kids can use their imagination to no end to build, whatever they want. The most inclusive and most engaging games are the ones that allow the students to do whatever their minds can come up with.
That's absolutely fascinating.
So, I mean, that leads me to the question, what brought you in particular to each of the panel? What brought you to the STEM profession? Was you an inspiration, or were you always interested in it? Did you kind of fall into it?
Well, from my standpoint, I've always been interested in STEM, but it wasn't really the career path I took. I was an accountant and auditor, which involves a little bit of STEM, some math, but it's not as STEM focused as some of the careers out there today. But I brought my son into the world and developed the interest in STEM to him, and I wanted to help spread the love and interest in STEM that he has and that I've always had to as many people as possible.
Nice.
I can go next, I guess. I've always been pretty good at math. I like to play Monopoly and games like that when I was growing up. And then my parents got our first computer when I was 12 years old. And I just immediately had a desire to learn more. At the time, America Online was brand new, and so you could connect to all of these people from around the world that shared similar passions. And so, yeah, I've just always been interested in science and, the quest for knowledge. Yeah, I really couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Neat. So my former life was as a teacher, so I always loved teaching science to the kids.
Awesome.
And you can't overlook the fact that STEM education starts at birth. I know it seems like, oh, science and math, and it can be seen as kind of higher level skills, but really STEM is all about exploration and looking around, observing your environment, trying new things, and trying other things again and again. So what we try to encourage in library programs for the little guys is playing. Playing is, in essence, STEM. So it's really like the light bulb goes on for a lot of people when you say, that's all STEM is. It's just playing. And we have some fun STEM kits for when we had in-person library programs that, the kids could play with robots, and they would, experiment with coding and things like that. And, we don't always feel comfortable teaching STEM like that, but the point I had to my staff was, it's just about playing, and failing is just the first attempt in learning. So don't be afraid to fail together with your kids and learn something for next time. So
absolutely.
Yes, I've had, we have a podcast and I interview a lot of STEM professionals, and the word that that keeps coming up is curiosity. STEM is all about being curious, about learning why things happen and how things work. So it all starts with that. Kids like to go out and they ask questions, why is the grass green? Why does the water move this way? Why am I this tall? And it's all about curiosity, and it's all about STEM, because the most basic component of STEM is science, and everything is science based. And if you
Yeah.
get them on science, it leads them to the other paths.
Yeah, I gotta give a shout out to Phil on this one, on this question. He's the one who got me into STEM, him and the Maryland STEM Festival. Before that, like I was always into making video games since high school, but I had never even heard of the term STEM until Phil reached out to me through email and asked me if I wanted to come and showcase a video game at the Math Festival, I believe it was, in Centennial
Yep.
High School. We went there, showcased my game, which was Mighty Masters. It wasn't even, it's a very different game than the agronomics. The kids loved it. And then Phil one day reached out to me and asked me about if I wanted to make a STEM-based video game. I mean, and then we just got to talking and chatting and trying to figure things out. And then yeah, it was all Phil that got me into STEM and even showed me what STEM was, and got me really interested in it. And now I'm loving STEM. I'm hooked on it and stuff,
And that's a key component of the Maryland STEM Festival, is we try to show the kids that they are already using STEM. They don't even think about it. STEM, you can't live without STEM. Almost everything you do interacts with STEM in some way. The video games, to create those video games, excuse me, you need to know coding, which is basically math. And
Yep.
So yeah, sports is another example. We've done events about sports and how sports is all about math and physics and geometry, and kids don't think about it. So we try to show them that, hey, STEM is nothing foreign. STEM is what you're already doing in your everyday life and in the activities you love. So there are other ways you can use it that can help you in life.
And that's a perfect segue to the next question, because I was just going to ask, could you give us more details about Maryland STEM Fest? We're kind of in the middle of October right now, and we are, the STEM Fest has been going on for a couple of weeks, but we still have a lot going on that you can participate in. So I was wondering if you can just provide us with the website and how people can get involved.
Absolutely. Would you like me to show the website right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I will show the website, and while it's up, we can talk about hold on a second, we have to
Screen sharing enabled. There it is.
I gotta learn how to do that.
There we go. So the Maryland STEM Festival, as it says on top of the page, started on October 2nd, and it will run through November 1st. It's an annual celebration of STEM that I started 5-6 years ago to encourage students to learn more about STEM and find the path of STEM that they really like. One thing I frequently say is not every area of STEM is for everyone or will be liked by everyone, but there's at least one area of STEM that each person will like and enjoy and find that it's vital to their life and something they want to learn more about. And so with the STEM Festival, we try to give students as many opportunities as possible to see different areas of STEM and find the one they really like. Now this year, our festival is all virtual. You can find the listing of all the events on our website under the events page. Oops, went to the wrong page. So currently we have about 130, 140 events. We expect to have a few more, and they take all sorts of formats, all online, and they cover lots of different areas, but students can search through and visit as many events as they want to and learn about different areas of STEM. So that is a little bit about the STEM Festival. Again, we usually run for about a month each fall. This is our 6th year. Last year we had nearly 700 events, and we estimated about 30,000 people attended them.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything on this site as well that you'd like to talk about? Are there other programs like you have the ambassador program and there's a
couple
game?
things. First off, our video game, you can play it here through our website. It's browser based, but there are also, as Tony can talk about a little later, mobile version. So you can also download it from the Apple Store and the Google Store, and then play it on your device, play it on your phone, on your iPad, on your tablet. So there are multiple ways to play it, and one of the key elements is it's free. We want to stress the importance of the connection between STEM and agriculture and learn some of those techniques, some of those uses of STEM and agriculture. One of the reasons I started creating this game is our festival's theme several years ago was STEM and agriculture. And frequently we would talk to children and you'd ask them, where's your food come from? And they just said, the supermarket. They just assumed it popped up in the supermarket. They didn't realize that it was grown, it went through a process, that there was a lot of STEM involved to get it to the supermarket. And I thought that, well, kids like to play video games. Maybe we can use video games to teach them more about where their food comes from and how it's developed into the format that it gets into when it reaches their store. This concept is called gamification, of using games in an educational format to teach something. And it's been very successful. And I thought, why not try it for STEM and agriculture? Another thing I want to talk about, which you mentioned.
And we'll talk a little more about that later, so Tony can jump in with the agronomics. Or would you like to jump in now? It's actually kind of a nice time. You can give us more about the development of agronomics, and then we'll get to the other parts of the Maryland STEM Fest site.
Oh yeah, so with the idea of agronomics, ultimately was about getting kids inspired into looking into agriculture as a career option in Maryland. And we wanted to go through it using various aspects of STEM and how that relates to agriculture. And the way we had done it during the very early stages of development, while we were very much still in the planning stages, what type of game agronomics would be. I came across an article about an interview that was done by, I can't think of the name of the company, but it was a company that built like farming simulators. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was the developer said, we've made several farming simulator games, and we realized that over time that kids don't actually like playing simulators, because simulators is a lot like work. And kids, when they play a video game, they want to play, they want to have fun. They want to take risks, they want to learn things and stuff. But it really highlighted the difference between a simulator and a video game. And so after realizing that, I just decided to go with an approach to this game that is more puzzle-based, that allows you to solve things. That wasn't so much push this lever here and make sure you turn this and turn that on and things like that. It was more like solving memorization puzzles, hand-eye coordination, resource management, developing your resource management skills, developing stronger pattern recognition, all wrapped around the theme of agriculture and how STEM relates to agriculture. And that turned out to be a really good move. Like while we were developing the game, we went to many different conventions and shows showcasing the game, and we've always drawn a crowd, always had a group of kids always eager to play the game. And while kids are playing the game, while they go through the process of tilling the soil, setting up the water irrigation system, planting their seeds, and then watching their crops grow, during the growth stage, you'll have a number of different things that could destroy your crops, going from rodent infestations, floods, and droughts. And we find that while kids are trying to protect their crops, they're the most excited because they had spent so much time developing their crops. They don't want to lose it all, so they work really hard to try to protect it. And they're using things like drone and GPS trackers and learning how GPS trackers use path nodes to go from one node to the next and map out throughout their entire crops. And that's something that that is real world technology that we use nowadays for harvesting your crops. So that was also really, really cool to develop and add into the game and see kids' reaction based on that development time and stuff. So yeah.
And at some of these events, the parents literally have had to drag their kids away from the game. They keep wanting to play it.
That's an interesting point, simulation versus the gameplay. I hadn't ever really put that together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it also has something to do with how teachers have to make something both educational and fun, and the dynamics that they have to wrestle with to try to do that. There seems to be some weird cutoff with many different kids and stuff where like having to read from a textbook isn't always as fun as doing something hands-on and things like that. You know what I mean? And that's what video games are great for. It's a great digital hands-on activity to engage in. Um, and when you're doing that as a simulator, it's really like training for a job versus having fun, you know, unless you really love that job. It's just, there's just a cutoff there.
Yeah. Justin, anything to add as far as like the video game world and how it relates to STEM?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of simulators. We have a solar system simulator that we've developed, and if you just look back, some of the most popular games have been as simulators. If you look back to SimCity, the success of that game was huge. Sometimes you have to simplify the scenario a little bit, just because in real life, you know, things are just complex, right? And if you want to boil them down so that you can teach them to a younger audience, sometimes you just have to strip away some of the complexity. And then when they go to, you know, university or graduate school, they learn some of the more smaller intricacies that really, yeah, make a technology advanced. You know, we've been increasing the efficiency of our farming and the efficiency of our manufacturing and supply chains and all these things. And it's, yeah, it's taken time, but yeah, technology and computers and faster internet, all of that's kind of culminated and made our lives a lot better.
I know there's a simulation game that some of my friends play, and I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called. Maybe you all can. It's rocketry. So you're basically trying to form trajectories and with thrust and try to figure out how to get your rocket to go to wherever you're planning on going.
I'm gonna guess that's probably Kerbal Space Program.
Yes, that's it. I was like, it's escaping me right now, but yeah.
Yeah, KSP's been around for a number of years, and they've really achieved a huge amount of success. They teach orbital mechanics in probably the most intuitive way you could. It's a really great game.
And so when they say it's not rocket science, yes, it is. It is rocket science.
It is, yeah, actually. And yeah, I mean, that expression's a pretty old expression, you know, but because rocket science has been around for 100 years, right? And rocket science was difficult when you had to use a slide ruler. But now I would say, you know, we've actually gotten pretty good at rocket science. Artificial intelligence is kind of the next thing, right? We have companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin that are using artificial intelligence to, for example, land a rocket, which is something that would be impossible to do, or nearly impossible to do even if you had a team of mathematicians. But a supercomputer, you know, with an AI can do it in real time, which is pretty incredible.
All right, so let's go back to the Maryland STEM Festival page. Was there anything else, Phil, that you needed to point out?
There's a couple things. Every year the festival has a theme. We try and pick an area and we focus on it. We encourage our hosts to have as many events with that theme, though we don't require it. And this year our theme is manufacturing and design. And people ask me why. And the reason I tell them is because most people don't understand that manufacturing is just as modern as any industry. It almost involves rocket science. It's highly involved with technology and engineering and math and science. The manufacturing plants today are much more developed and much different than what people traditionally think of factories. They're clean. They have a lot of equipment. They don't have as many people, and they're very mechanized, very processed, very dependent upon software, and a lot of things that people don't associate with manufacturing. So we've had a lot of events that focus on how STEM is involved with manufacturing, how manufacturers need people with STEM skills and expertise to run their operations, to make them run well, and to help them develop the future factories. So I wanted to make that point. And another point I'd like to make while we're here is we have just started a program we called an ambassador program. And what that is we're recruiting students to help us get the word out on the STEM Festival. And it's as simple as them posting about the festival and STEM through their social media. We also have some who are working on our social media platforms and even helping improve our website and keep our website up to date. So there are opportunities for students who are going to take part of this program. And some of the benefits are we, of course, provide them with t-shirts and things. They can get service hours. And then also we anticipate, COVID willing, that we'll have a big annual event for all of our ambassadors. So we're looking for students around the state who are interested in STEM or who are just interested in using their social media to promote STEM to join this program. So far, we have about 6 students from, actually, I think we're up to about 10 students from around the state, and would love to see more students be involved and help us get the word out and help the festival grow and help get STEM more embedded in the Maryland community and culture.
Super. So can they just email?
They can just, yes, if you go to the website, you just email me. My email address is on that page. We have a listing of the current ambassadors. A few have left, but this is the list so far. Most of our ambassadors currently are Howard County based because that's where I operate, but we're certainly looking to get ambassadors from all around the state. And we have started to get a few from Montgomery County. We'd love to have some from Prince George's County, where I grew up, as well as other counties around Maryland.
Awesome, thanks. And so even though we're halfway through Maryland, people can still email you and we can still get the word out.
And this will be an around the year program. We would like people to, like the students, to help talk about STEM all year round. Obviously, there'll be a little bit less to talk about because the events won't be going on, but we're very active all year round with ourselves as well as promoting other STEM. So love to see students join the program. And before one other thing I want to mention, actually, there's 2, if you don't mind, there's 2 things I'd like to mention on our website, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually one, because that one. We also do a podcast where we interview Maryland STEM professionals, people involved with STEM in some way. It's about 8 minutes that we publish 2 podcasts a week. And it ranges from, and this last one is an artist who runs a program that teaches kids how to draw and learn about animals. We've had the Lieutenant Governor as a guest on our podcast. So it's really interesting. You never know what I'm going to post about, what area of STEM. So check it out and give it a listen. And you can access it through our website, or also it's on iTunes and all traditional podcast outlets.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all that exciting information about Maryland STEM Fest. I appreciate it. So as you can see, a lot of ways to get involved, a lot of ways to participate. And so this is kind of leading me to my next question, which is, so people may be asking, like, why are libraries so involved in STEM? What do libraries and STEM have to do with each other? Because traditionally, I think people have this idea of what a library is, and STEM kind of puts a whole different perspective on library work. So how do you all see STEM and libraries working together?
Well, I see STEM as, and the libraries have become a great educator and distributor of STEMs. Many of the libraries around the state have excellent STEM programs where they have a wide range of classes that teaches different areas of STEM: robotics, coding, biology, astronomy. So you can go to any library in Maryland and they have some STEM programming where your kids and also adults can learn about different areas of STEM and find out why STEM is so fascinating and so interesting and so embedded in their lives. And the libraries, taking one step farther, have been the biggest partners of the Maryland STEM Festival since day one. They host the most events. The libraries are just critical to Maryland's STEM infrastructure.
Yeah, I would add that historically libraries have just been centers for learning. It goes back to the Library of Alexandria. That was kind of the mecca of knowledge for a long time in the ancient world, and it carries to today where if you want to get involved with other people in your community and share things that you're learning or things that you're working on and trying to build, libraries are a really great place to do that.
Love libraries.
And it doesn't matter the age, because they have programs on technology and coding for adults as well as students. They have some great competitions. It's just a wonderful place to be if you want to get involved and learn about STEM.
Cool. Anything to add, Tony?
I couldn't add any more than that and stuff. Yeah, they hit all the points pretty well.
Libraries really do rock, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I spent a lot of time there as a kid, and as a child, and I go to libraries all the time. And I love reading about and seeing all the great activities, especially the STEM activities that the libraries are doing and continue to do, and are seeking new ways to do it.
I downloaded so many games on my school's library. I know I shouldn't have done that. But they had the
Well,
best
I mean, that's
in the building.
computer access, internet access. I mean, that is what libraries provide for people. So however
Absolutely.
you decide to use us, we're happy to have you.
Awesome.
So let's talk about diversity, equity. That's a big topic. We hear a lot about it, especially in the news these days. How can we talk about diversity and STEM together? Like how do those concepts fit together?
Well, unfortunately, STEM hasn't been as diverse as it should be. You talk to people that are really in STEM and they say, we need everybody's ideas, everybody's skills. We need as many different thoughts to create STEM, to make STEM, and to improve upon STEM. Having the narrow viewpoint from one small group isn't the best for STEM. So there's a lot of effort to promote STEM to communities that haven't had as much access to STEM. And that was really the main reason I started STEM, is because the STEM Festival, is because access to STEM has not been uniform across the spectrum. And two of the key limiting factors have been cost and location. Well, we try to have as many STEM Festival events in as many locations, and they're all free, to try to alleviate those limitations to STEM and to try to expose STEM to more students and a great variety of STEM. So access has been a problem, but there is a lot of effort to eliminate those barriers and to reach out to different communities that have not had the involvement with STEM. And another key component is awareness. Is a lot of students and parents don't realize that while the numbers aren't as high as they should be, there are already many minorities and girls involved in STEM, and those people are serving as role models to inspire kids of color and kids in those underserved communities to get involved with STEM.
Yeah, I would add that the trajectory is at least improving. I think for a long time, yeah, it was incredibly lopsided, but you've got really great movies. I always like to plug a recent movie called Hidden Figures that talked about the human computers that helped the NASA engineers in the 1960s. It was this team of Black women that found the trajectories that NASA used to land the Apollo astronauts on the moon. And so, yeah, just more recognition, better role models. I think, yeah, we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say that those very words. Yeah, I think the STEM is moving in the right direction. I think these types of things are usually slow. I mean, STEM hasn't been around as an establishment for very long. And so it's probably going to take, some odd years before it is as diverse as we would like it to be. But I would have to say that, like, with my experience with the Maryland STEM Festival and seeing how the audience that are coming to this, I would say that it is like the Maryland STEM Festival is one of the top organizations out there promoting STEM that has the diversity really, is really making things a lot more diverse, a lot faster. So I think they're doing great work there. And I've even been at other events that like I would do like a career day at elementary school or middle school, and I was surprised that some of the kids recognized me at one of these events, one of the STEM festival events that we went to in Showcase Agronomics. They thought I was bringing the farming game over. And I was actually pretty shocked about that. Yeah, and I get that a lot going to different events. You'll see the same people and stuff, but very rare. Like I've never gone to an actual school where these kids were actually at one of these festival events, and it's a predominantly black school in Baltimore. So like I would say that the festival is doing a great job putting the word out there and being inclusive and bringing as many people, diverse people to the STEM field. I think you guys are doing a great job, Phil.
Thank you. And I'd like to plug one event. On October 28th at 7 p.m., we have our event we call STEM of Many Colors. And what that involves is, first, we have a panel discussion about why STEM is important to minority and underserved communities. And then we have a number of current STEM professionals of color talk about what they do and why they do it and why you can do it too, regardless of your background.
Thank you. It is so important. I mean, we see that, growing up, I saw a lot of white male science figures. You used to see that kind of in your textbooks a lot. And I think the landscape is really changing. So recently we had a program about Latinx science heroes. So, people may not have learned about that in school. So it's really important that we give recognition where recognition is due and help others understand that this is an open profession, that it's welcoming. I know a lot of companies do, hiring to try to make sure that their workforce is as diverse and equitable as possible. So we're gonna keep making those strides, Maryland STEM Fest, yay!
We are trying. We're doing what we can, and we work with a lot of organizations that have the same goal.
And so we are obviously in the midst of a national and worldwide health emergency / pandemic. How has COVID affected the STEM world or people's perception of science even?
Well, I'll speak positively. I like to think that it's increased people's attention to scientists and why it's important and why we need to listen to them. And it's life-threatening in the case of COVID. If you don't follow the proper protocol, if you don't pay attention to what's going on, it could unfortunately kill you. And hopefully people realize that we're finding how to prevent this and how to limit it and how to come out of it because of science.
Absolutely. I would also say that technology, COVID has definitely impacted technology. I mean, look how Zoom exploded over since COVID has started, online meetings and things like that as well. Also, a lot of people are realizing that they have engineering skills that they didn't know they had, because now they have to adapt to the current environment and stuff. And people who probably never made masks before are making masks and stuff like that, So so I would say, the engineering and the technology aspects have also been impacted by COVID, because people are using technology a lot more. Now we have more online classes and things like that too, so yeah.
I guess I would add that hopefully we'll have science come to the rescue here in the next months or years, where doctors will find a vaccine that works, and people will really realize that, without STEM, we wouldn't be able to come up with these great solutions that, can save the world, basically. STEM will save the world.
So there's the element of medical science. There is even data science involved with tracking of the pandemic. And you see a lot of different models being built about how the trajectory could go. So, we're looking at a lot of different ways that COVID has affected us and how we think about science. So very, very interesting conversation.
Go
ahead.
All of the math models that they're using to figure out when we can start having sports again. That's STEM in action. Everybody wants to be able to watch football this season, but we need to be able to calculate how safe that is, what kind of risks we're willing to take, and we need to be able to, precisely, or at least as accurately as we can, define those models and see what we can do to cope with the situation.
And I wanted to tie this into the manufacturing theme again. Once we have developed a vaccine, we're going to have to figure out how to produce it in quantity sufficient that it gets to the public, and also use STEM to get it to the public. And there's been a whole group of manufacturers that have been finding new ways to deal with different aspects of STEM, producing new masks or better masks and more masks, and other tools have helped us lessen the COVID experience.
So for people who are at their homes or spending a lot more time indoors in front of their screens, what sort of activities could you suggest for families to kind of stimulate and activate their STEMmy parts of their brains at home?
Well, the first thing I'm going to say, it's actually, it gets back to a point you were talking about with children, is getting out and enjoying nature and exploring nature and understanding nature. Just going for a walk and experiences nature is a great way to connect to STEM and the world. Now getting back into the homes, there are a lot of resources. There are a lot of websites that give you activities, experiments you can do, resources that you can learn about different areas of STEM. And of course, the STEM Festival will be doing that as well. And people have been increasing the number of at-home activities you can find on the internet, because unfortunately, we don't know when we'll be returning to any level of normalcy. So the proliferation of STEM activities that you can do at home has been increasing. We have a page that lists some of these resources and some of these sites people can go to find activities to stimulate their brain in a STEM mode.
Yeah, I guess shameless plug for our company's software. We've got a great science trivia game. We've got some math games, our astronomy, solar system simulator. One of the things that turned me on to STEM and science was a program called Cosmos. It was originally done by Carl Sagan, and then more recently by Neil deGrasse Tyson. I always like to plug that one just because it was the thing that turned me onto science more than anything else in the world.
Yeah, I would say maybe even learning how to make games. Something that you can do that doesn't really rely upon technology if you don't have it. I've been to certain places, some schools in Baltimore where some of the families didn't have internet access, so they really couldn't do a lot of the technological type of things. But like I would say, learning how to make small games to play with your friends in your neighborhood and your family as well and stuff. Learn how to like come up with rule sets and how to balance those. Learn how to set up goals and objectives and things like that. Would be really, really cool. Something that you can just do without any type of technology or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that ties into the whole maker movement, which is another excellent opportunity to involve STEM or learn about STEM at home. I know some of the libraries, and I think yours are giving out STEM kits or maker kits so that students have something to do at home who, again, may not have access to the internet or may just be tired of being on the screen. So there are a wide range of things you can do, and the maker movement is a great opportunity. And you can you can use your own curiosity to make things yourself. You don't even need a kit. You just go around the house and see things and take things and say, what can I make with that? There are a lot of ways to engage your mind in STEM, even if we're somewhat limited with interaction.
Thanks, and I'll make sure to share in the chat what the website is for the library where you can find out specifically how to access kits and to see our program lineup as well. So we're almost at the end here, but I wanted to ask this team's advice if students are looking to get involved in a STEM career or higher education. What should they be doing now to set themselves up for success?
Well, the first thing I would suggest is find the STEM area you like. Don't just go into STEM because people say, well, everybody's doing this or you'll make a lot of money. Find what you really like. There are many ways to explore that. Libraries, STEM festivals, schools, there are clubs and classes. explore as many different STEM fields and areas as you can to find the one you really like and that you'll be passionate about and that you'll love for your whole life and that you will never get tired of, and that will be the path you follow.
Absolutely. I love that answer, Phil. That was a great one. I would say for me is getting into game development. I mean, game development, as I said before, it encompasses every aspect of STEM, and even moves into the art aspect as well for STEAM. So like, I mean, you can learn science of you can learn different type of psychological sciences, um, different types of technology, engineering, art, mathematics, and things like that. All of it takes all of that to make a video game, and there are so many different types of jobs in each of those fields that kids could consider as a career option. Yeah, like and the internet. If you have internet, for those that have internet access, I mean, there couldn't be more tutorials out there, free software you can use. Just there's so much resources out there nowadays. I mean, they call it like YouTube University now and stuff. You can learn how to make a video game just based off of YouTube, what you can find on YouTube. So yeah, I would encourage kids to consider looking into making video games as a STEM related career choice.
I would recommend robotics clubs, after school robotics clubs. First Robotics is one of the best programs I think this country has. They're in a lot of schools. They're not in all schools, hopefully someday, but yeah, First Robotics is a great after school program. Some schools even have after school small satellite manufacturing programs. They're called CubeSats. They're 10 by 10 by 10 centimeter satellites, and you create all the subsystems. Usually you have to have a pretty solid engineering teacher at your high school. It's more common in collegiate level and the universities, but there are a number of schools, even in this area, that have after-school satellite CubeSat programs. Yeah, programming is an important skill, even if you're not very good at it. Just knowing how to configure something or taking the patience to script a file so that your application does something automatically can save yourself a tremendous amount of time throughout your life. I mean, if you are doing something over and over and over again every day, and it takes 10 minutes, multiply that out. If you can fix that 10-minute problem, you're going to save yourself, days of time. Yeah, those are probably 3 good recommendations that I would make.
I'm going to consult with you after this program, Justin.
Yeah, do you get a lot of email? Email filters are the way to go, for sure.
I got that one already. That one is great. That is a really good.
And that's scripting. I mean, that's a bit of programming.
Nice. So any final words before we wrap up? Any plugs that you want to give? Here's your chance.
Okay, well, quickly, of course, the STEM Festival runs through November 1st. Please go to our website, www.marylandstemfestival.org, and find the events that interest you. Attend as many as you can. They're all online through Zoom and or Facebook. So please check us out. But the other thing I want to add is something that is not always associated with STEM that we've touched on a little bit, but we haven't really pointed out is STEM, especially good STEM, involves a lot of creativity. People a lot of times think of STEM as kind of dry and stoic, but the more creative you are, the more success you can be in STEM. And the people in STEM all the time talk to me how much creativity they find in their work. So just because you go into STEM doesn't mean you'll be using your imagination, your creativity. If you go into STEM, you'll be using that as well.
My true passion is the space industry, and so a few organizations that I've had the opportunity to be a part of. One's called the Space Generation Advisory Council. If you're in a university and you want to get involved in space policy, that's a good place to start. There's a school called the International Space University, where you can learn about near-Earth asteroids and spectral allocation and all of the amazing things that not only NASA does, but all around the world, there's all of these space organizations that are popping up. And I really think a lot of the jobs of the 21st century are going to be created around this new space economy that's emerging right now. We have, constellations of satellites. Up until now, we've only had a couple of thousands of satellites launched, but over the next 5 years, there's supposed to be something like 20,000 new satellites launched into the sky. We've got rockets that are reusable where before they weren't. We've got companies that are working on lunar habitats where you can actually go and be a tourist and live in space for a week. We've got companies that are sending robots to the moon. We've got companies that are looking at mining asteroids for resources. And so I really think a lot of the jobs of the future are going to involve space, and space at its heart is STEM. It's all four of the disciplines wrapped in one.
Yeah, we're going to have a program on NASA's in-space manufacturing program.
And final plug, if you get a chance, go to intergalacticeducation.com, and that's where you'll find our software and games and things that you can try out for free.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would say also check out the marylandstemfestival.org/STEM games if you want to give agronomics a playthrough. Also, you can check out agronomics on the Google Play Store and the App Store as well.
And what about Philosophy?
Absolutely.
So what's the website for that, Tony? Philosophy.com?
Oh yeah, that's philosophy.com, and you'll see some of the games that I've built, and you'll be able to find information about the other game that I'm working on called Mighty Masters, which takes the core concept of rock, paper, scissors and brings it into a new space for competitive multiplayer gaming.
Wow.
Think of like Pac-Man meets rock, paper, scissors.
Awesome. I'll have to check that out. I have played agronomics and I really enjoyed it. So thank you for bringing that to us. And want to thank everyone on the panel. This has been very informative. I love talking about STEM. I know you do too. So this was jam-packed with great information. And I hope that our customers watching will visit these sites and also the library website where you can find any type of book you want and resource about STEM to find your passion. So thanks very much, and hope you join us next week, 4 p.m. on Thursday for Community Conversation. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thanks, everybody.